Welcome to Real Talk in ELT, the podcast that talks about the reality of teaching English. All right, we'll just go from here.
Yay! All right.
Recording, so we'll do it from here.
Yes, do it from here. Do what you can.
Yeah, the technology. It's fine.
Yes,
Okay.
when it works.
It does. I mean, I always find whenever
when it works,
yeah, and sometimes the people who have Macs, for like MacBooks or AirBooks or something, for some reason they have more difficulty with that platform. So I think it's something with the operating system. I'm not sure. Anyways.
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
Right.
But let's get started because
Yes.
otherwise we're never going to get to it.
Man.
Ready to go?
Ready.
Okay. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk in ELT. I'm here with Stephan Hughes. Very excited. Welcome, sir.
Okay. Stephan. Sorry.
Stephan.
Yes.
I always say Stephan. Oh, sorry.
Okay. No, everybody says it. Don't worry.
Stephan.
Yes. Oops.
I'm going to start over. No, I want to introduce you over again. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk in ELT. I'm here with my guest, Stephan Hughes. Oh my God. I'm so really? I always, for some reason, just...
No.
I blank on
as
it.
I said, yeah, people normally assume it's Stephan.
Huh. Okay. I apologize. For everyone out there listening, please, Stephan. Whew. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's just clear that up.
Yes.
No, because I usually mess up people's names anyways. I'm terrible.
Okay.
I'm really bad at it. Okay. Stephan Hughes is a doctoral student in applied linguistics at PUC São Paulo, right? He has delivered lectures and conducted training programs in educational technology, language development, and learning methodologies as they apply to the area of continuous professional development of the English language teacher. Welcome.
Thank you.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk to you today, actually, because when I sent you a message and you started talking about educational platforms on Twitter, I was like, please help. Because first of all, I'm not on Twitter. I find it to be an intimidating platform.
Right.
So why Twitter? Because this is part of your doctoral thesis, right? That we were talking about.
Yes.
So why Twitter? What kind of led you there?
True. Okay. Yeah. Well, it started way back. Way back in 2009. I believe I joined the platform when it was still, budding. It started 2006. The first tweet came out 2006, right? With James Dorsey and everything. And people were kind of catching on to it. It was still budding in terms of the use for chats and maybe for people to connect. So there are lots of even Brazilian teachers and stuff were trying to use it to have live sessions or chatting with other teachers on the platform. Right. Thankfully, the features have changed and have made things much more interactive than it was before. So you have more of a asynchronous thing. Because originally Twitter was created much more for you to post something and people would see it afterwards. But now it's much more about real-time events. We see things being kind of, let's say, viewed and aired on Twitter in real time, and what everything from politics to sports to soap operas, whatever. So everything is going on Twitter. People sometimes watch TV and comment while they're watching TV on Twitter. So you have a lot of that going on. And what has happened is that a lot of educational groups, schools, teachers in general have kind of flocked to it to use it for the sake of talking. And what we discovered was that using a hashtag, you could have live chats. So that once you type in a hashtag, everybody uses the same hashtag, you would see your tweets in real time. You see what somebody else has to say. So it's as if you're talking like I'm talking to you right now, but through text. And the fact now that you can upload images, you can put GIF, you can put emoticons, you have more characters, you can retweet, you can quote somebody's tweet. So all of these features kind of add on to that. So you can put layers on top of layers. So let's say you say something that I agree with or I find interesting, I can quote you. So it's like your tweet appears and it says on top of it, hey, look at what Kelly said. I fully agree with this, or guys, let's think about this a little bit more, and so on and so on. So that's what I think the main thing with Twitter is really. So I started using it like that. I got the hang of it. I started to get the hang of it way through 2010, 11, then 2013. That's when it kind of hit, because I decided to use it to teach when we started teaching the postgraduate program here in Brazil for teachers. We started using technology. One of the subject was use of new technologies, and I said, well, hey, why not try and connect with people around the world? Because that's what we were talking about in the theory. We're talking about how technology could help us connect, go beyond the geographical, physical borders. So I said, hey, well, I have Twitter. Why not try Twitter? And I posted out, I sent a tweet out. I didn't know anybody at the time. And I said, hey, Saturday at 4 p.m., I'll be with my, postgraduate teachers, students. If you want to come and talk to us, we'd love to talk about, education. And lo and behold, a fellow teacher named Julie Shy, she replied, and I was able to show that, in real time. I opened up the screen, I showed that to the students in the room, and they were like, "Whoa, she actually replied." So it really brought up a bit of a, not a brawl, but it was a little curiosity.
Interesting to
It
see,
sparked
right?
that
Like,
curiosity, yeah.
yeah,
It was like,
exciting.
wow, somebody actually responded, So I think that until today, when I show that sometimes and I send a question out and people actually respond, my students kind of like, oh, they actually responded. Yeah, good.
But I think that's one of the things that I don't really, sorry to interrupt, but I don't really know how to manage that, because I downloaded the app. At some point I did, and I was like, okay, what's Twitter all about? And I never really got into it. And I'm not sure if it was because, like, for example, who do you follow? What hashtags do you use? Are there communities that are already set up? And how do you connect with them? I think that was the main barrier for me, that I was just seeing some of, like, the famous people, and I'm not really interested in what they have to say. So I wasn't really. That's oops. Okay, sorry.
Oops.
No, like celebrities and stuff. I don't care what that's actress is using as a deodorant. That's not interesting to me. So, but I wasn't really sure how to navigate to make it meaningful, and I think that was my barrier. Okay. So how did you do that?
Yeah, I think that too. A lot of people are still kind of discovering, because at the start it was all about reading celebrity tweets, reading who's doing what, who's seeing who, whatever, and people are posting in real time. Okay, I'm having lunch now, and you take a picture, something like that. But it moved away from that. It moved away from that kind of I would say idle, casual tweets to much more sharing information. So there was people started sharing information there. Writers, content creators started finding out that they can actually post things. So even, as I said, authors, right, they started tweeting out parts of their stories, right? They used, since it was just 140 characters, they would tweet it out. But in terms of teachers, fortunately, we have lots of great educators who do that. There's one particular guy who does it, and he's a librarian. So he kind of took his librarian skills to the digital world. So he's known as a cybrarian, yeah, the librarian, cybrarian.
That's fantastic.
And he does fantastic work, because he has created basically a platform where you can find all the educational hashtags organized by topic, by age group, or by target group. So let's say if you're a parent,
he's made it like a reference for people.
Yes, it's a reference. So if you're a parent, these are hashtags that you would want to follow. If you are an educator, these hashtags you might want to, be interested in. If you are a student, you might want to look at these hashtags. So he puts these hashtags together around these groups, right? That doesn't mean that you can't explore all of them, but he does it to make it much easier to follow. And then he also created a kind of a yearly calendar with the time. So let's say there are lots of chats that take place weekly. For example, I organize a chat which takes place every Saturday around 10 a.m. Brazilian time. Normally, these chats last about an hour. The aim of the chat is to come and share experiences, talk about best practices, whatever. So topics can vary. Our focus is on teachers who are new to Twitter. So like yourself, okay, I'm new here. I've never used Twitter. Well, how can I use it for education? So we talk about that kind of perspective. How can we use Twitter for teaching or even for professional development, to learn things and stuff. So we try to, touch on those topics. You have topics from, special education to digital security, digital literacy, to cyberbullying. So there all kinds of stuff. People are focusing on different areas within education. So
okay, this is okay. Bring it back just a second, because
bring it back.
You're dealing with the newbie here. What's the dynamic like? So then, okay, let's say that I'm interested, and maybe somebody listening is like, oh, this sounds great for me, like professional development. I'm super interested. So you're specific. So Saturdays, 10 a.m. Brazil time. How do they even get in? What's the dynamic? How do they get in touch? Like, how do they do that? Because I feel like there's some people, maybe it's only me in this world, but I feel like there's some people who are like, I don't even know how to work this app. Like,
what the hell, right?
Yeah, like they get on Instagram and they get familiar with that, or they get to TikTok and they get familiar with that. And then we just kind of block out the rest of it.
Yeah, I think the thing with Twitter too is that it's scary in terms of the stream, because the feed is really fast, and then it feels like, and I always made a comparison of, let's say you go to a waterfall and you try to drink water from waterfall. They try like, you do like that.
It's like all coming at me at the same time.
That's it. You get it, or like a fire hose, that fire hose image.
Yeah.
So it's like that. So and people who are new feel overwhelmed because you're seeing tweets going at ultra high,
literally
speed,
rapid fire.
And like, wait, so what am I doing here? How can I creep up? So I think the hashtag is what really helps. So once you know the hashtag of that group that you want to, let's say, I want to look at language teaching. There's one called Lang Chat, Lang chat together. So I believe they meet on Mondays. So Lang Chat, and Sarah Berryman, he has this schedule actually, which he shows you the hashtag, the time, Eastern, Central, all of the times are there, and you can go log in. Teachers from Australia, there's one called Aussie Chat, there's one from New Zealand, there's one from, what's the other one? I forgot, but they have, names. So global mindedness, different things. So what you need to do is to follow the hashtag. Once you get in there, you use the search bar within Twitter, and when you type in the hashtag there, then it would show the latest tweets that show up with that hashtag. And that is what kind of keeps your sanity at a minimum, because that's where you can keep up with what's going on. You don't see any other tweets. You just see the tweets that are related to that hashtag, right? Depending on the participation, the number of people, it can be fast, it can be slow. So sometimes you have maybe what we call a slow chat, where people just kind of send a question and people answer it at their own convenience, or they meet for 1 hour and they talk for that hour. If they meet for 1 hour, what normally happens, it varies, but what normally happens is there's a team, like a moderating team. I moderate this chat, myself and 3 other people, right? We've had lots of other moderators who've come and gone. We started in 2013, so now we are 9 years old. Yay! Anyway.
No, that's a long time, though.
A long time,
like
exactly.
I've been missing out on 9 years of content.
My baby boy. Yes. So, baby girl, baby boy, whatever. So what happens is that you come in and we normally decide on the topic beforehand. So last week we talked about, what did we talk about last week? We were talking about authentic or active learning. So we looked at, how active learning can be stimulated, how do we promote active learning, what kind of let's say, features, apps, what are your favorite resources, things like questions like that. So the chat normally revolves around 3 or 4 questions that you post out, and people respond. So let's say I put a question, and this has become very organic, and I think lots of teachers, we learned how to do that. So people started using this practice. So they'll put it like Q1, meaning question number 1, and you put your question, and then you put the hashtag. So if you put the hashtag, that's what guarantees that everybody will see it. You put that there. And if I want to respond to question 1, I put A1, meaning answer number 1, my answer, and the hashtag again, right? If I want to respond to somebody directly in the chat, the same thing. I make sure and use the hashtag. So that way, in the end, the feed, I see everybody's comments or everybody's quotes or tweets in that particular topic, right? So it makes it easier for you to follow with the hashtag, right? Even so, what we normally recommend to teachers when they join, first time, whatever, even if you don't have to respond, you could just keep, just read the tweets. Yeah, so you don't feel overwhelmed and you feel that you have to respond, because it might take, it might be very fast for you to do that. So, get a hang of it, ask a question, ask for help, things like that. We normally show people where to go, how to keep track of the tweets. Normally, we recommend you follow the moderator so that it's easy for you to see all the tweets. If you follow the moderator, then you see all of whatever the moderator is posting. It comes up on your screen. So it's easier to follow like that. And then at the end, this again is something that everybody learns along the way, right? Because Twitter didn't actually create these things for education. We discovered, and we kind of, okay, we have this, we have to retweet.
We hijacked it. We just hijacked the platform.
So we hijack. But I mean, this is technology, because remember, in life, we take technology and we redesign it for whatever we want, right? So we redefined it. And what we did was we were able to find lots of platforms that were able to generate transcripts, what we call transcripts of that particular hour of discussion. So let's say we just had the chat. I could go to that platform and type in the hashtag, and I could find all the tweets that were sent out with that hashtag in that particular hour. I can save it as a file and then share with everybody, right? So it comes so like a cool document.
I didn't know that happened.
Yeah. Yes, it comes up like a document almost, and you can save it like a PDF. You can send it to people like a link. So you can share it with other people, with other teachers. It becomes something you can go back and study. I myself, sometimes when I'm in the heat of the discussion, I like to go back and look at all the tweets, and sometimes I respond to some people afterwards, because it takes so hard to respond to everybody. So you go back and talk. Hey, Kelly, I love what you said there. Can you recommend something else? What do you mean by this? Because sometimes as well, in the heat of the moment, the clarity is not always there. So you ask for more clarification, or you extend the conversation. I think this is important too, that we kind of keep the conversation going even after the chat. So this has become like that. You develop what you call a PLN, right? The Professional Learning Network. So you know lots of people, you meet other educators, and you start sharing stuff. So I've met people from Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Turkey, Germany, Canada. I've never met them, face to face. Never been, to the country, anything, but just through Twitter. So it has opened that kind of door for me for possibilities. Sometimes even when we wanted to do like collaboration, when I would set up to meet my students with their students via Skype, we did that through Twitter. So, send them a message, hey, let's meet and let's, talk to your students, and they can talk to my students, blah, 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 blah. So that's it. I think those are the main benefits of it, because everybody comes in. Sometimes they may ask you to introduce yourself. They might say, well, okay, tell us what you do, where you work, your role and stuff. But even so, I think it's much more, it's very lateral. It's a horizontal discussion, not vertical as in, oh, I'm a professor, you are a pre-service teacher, you are whatever. Hey, anybody can disagree. And I think it's important that we disagree and agree to disagree, right? Nicely, to avoid the so-called echo chamber thing. But that's it. I think this is like one of the pluses of that, is that you can really hear people out for what their experiences. And most people are very honest, and they just come and share whatever they're going through. The pandemic, for example, was very frustrating for many people. It was great for me to show my Brazilian teachers that we are not alone, because we thought, well, it's only happening in Brazil. No, my people, in the United States, in Canada, UK. Teachers were suffering as well. When they had to go back to face-to-face as well, there were lots of things that were not in place in terms of security measures, safety for the teachers. So it wasn't just something that teachers here were suffering, right? They were also suffering that as well. And they talked about it. So I was giving them the chance to see that it's not just here that we have different, of course, we can always compare, but it gives us a chance to see things from a different part of the world and say, well, hey, we have something in common. Or what you're doing in your classroom, I didn't think of it. Maybe I could do it with my students. So sometimes, I've been teaching for 24 years, but still somebody says something or shares an idea. I'm like, wait a minute, didn't think of that one. Good. Or the other day when I remember I had an example where we were going back to the face-to-face sessions, and I think all of us were still kind of readjusting. So the students were readjusting, the teachers were readjusting, and I found it really difficult to understand students that they were not behaving. They were very restless and they couldn't keep quiet and stuff. And then I, just kind of really frustrated, but I tweeted something out about that, and immediately 2 or 3 other teachers said, hey, man, don't worry, it's not about you. Everybody's going through this. Be strong. So you have that network. If you want something,
a little
people come and reach out
solidarity,
to you.
right?
Yeah, so it's not toxic all the time. It is strong. It is emotional support. It's pedagogical support, 100%.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that I had mentioned to you before us connecting was that I often see, and I have to say that I'm not a huge, well, I think it's because of me as a person. I'm not a huge fan of social networks, social media initially. And I've learned to love them in my own way. In terms of and let me explain a little bit, because I like to podcast because I like to talk to people, because I like to have a genuine interaction with people. I'm not a very superficial person. Like I'm going to ask you serious questions right away. Like, do you believe in this? Like almost immediately of meeting people, I'm like, what do you think on this really controversial topic?
Yes.
So I'm a deep talker sometimes, and the other thing is I'm not I didn't really like showing my face and doing the whole thing. I've learned to kind of accept it, but I've learned to post and interact with people in my professional network, and everything else I just ignore. So literally when I post things on social media, it's like I drop the bomb and I walk away. I never really because that's how I've learned to deal with it based on me as a person. So I think, and I think some
defense
people
mechanism.
Yeah, definitely defense mechanism. Oh, I need therapy for sure. But I think
you're not the only one. You're not the only one at all. Yeah.
But I think some people see it as a very toxic environment, and they get so frustrated. And there's a lot of competition and the algorithms, and it's hard to break into markets and get followers, and so it's become this almost like a pressure cooker. And so that's why I think some people see it as negative. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it has become, and it is out there. I'm saying, let's say on the other side of things, I mean, we had the educations with the chats, but there are other things going on Twitter. There's a lot of hate, a lot of unnecessary critique and bantering sometimes that gets out of hand, to be very honest. But again, people are just being people. People are just being mean, as they say sometimes, right? You have to be selective. Go in, give your stuff, and it's almost like Mission Impossible. You go, boom, boom, drop the bomb and leave, like Tom Cruise. Just smooth in, get what you need to get, and leave. Right? Sometimes I just up on the trends because you can see the trends, right? You have to know how to block from, not getting too polluted by those things. And gets all bogged down by the amount of comments. Because even among teachers sometimes, even among groups, you have that where people say things and you're like, whoa, come on, man.
That was a little much.
Not necessary. Or we see people just kind of, as you said, it's an ego trip, people promoting themselves. So you're like, well, all right. fine. Because it's about that too. They need to get followers and so on. But it's what you want. It's look for
Right.
what you want from from the social media, and try to get that out of it, and block out the rest. Really, I think
Right. And
this
it's
is
well, and
the thing.
it's hard to find. Like, I had no idea about these things. I'm probably going to join your group. You'll see me on
Okay.
Saturdays. Yeah. So,
Yay.
but it's hard to find things like this, especially if you're trying to, stay away from it, because you have to interact. You kind of have to dig around to find these things.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
like
true.
this balance of, do I have to stay on here to find something that's beneficial for me? And then you kind of go down rabbit holes that tend to be like, oh, not what you're really
Tricky.
looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, then it's hard to get out of. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the thing. Yeah.
So-
But I think that this is it. This is if you can get that out of it, maybe it's worth it. Finding particular times. As I mentioned, the guy, if you look for him, Cybrary Man, it's like cyber and library. Cybrary Man, he has his platform there with all the educational tweets, the additional hashtag, the groups, resources that you can go to. He's really organized, great resource. So I normally recommend anybody who's looking for things, what topics you want. Sometimes they're organized by, as I said, region, by topic, by grades. You have like 8th grade teachers, science teachers, math teachers. So the topics will go on, and the hashtag will just lead you there too. So the key thing is using the hashtag, really.
Have you found that now that you're moderating these groups for years, your baby is 9 years old, so have you found that teachers are actually becoming a little more, we'll say, like, digital literacy, and they're finding out ways to then help their students because they're having to deal with the technology in themselves? Do you find that there's like these skills that they build themselves professionally and then are transferring, or has anybody had that reflection?
Yeah. When the pandemic hit, a lot of teachers were not prepared for online teaching, right? They were not prepared for that. We know that in Brazil and other parts of the world, they hadn't had that, let's say, insight or preparation, unless you were teaching online before, right? But most people were like completely lost. So a lot of the chats were focused or kind of centered around what to do in online teaching, things that work and that didn't work, how to help students. Or the big discussions were, all right, how do we make sure students are actually paying attention? How do we get them to turn on their cameras? Things like that. Those simple questions. That might seem maybe simple, but at the same time was a big deal. For me, it wasn't a big deal, but for some teachers and for some schools, it was. So you see that there were reflections of, now I'm getting teachers or students to be a little more independent. I'm using what I learned and teaching them how to create. There's one feature, for example, on Twitter, which allows you to create a thread, right? It's almost like a string of tweets, right? So you connect, and I've recommended that for teachers when they want to work with maybe writing skills with their students. So you have it's almost like a paragraph. So first, second paragraph, and then they can structure it like a thread. So it comes up like just one long string of text using 180 tweets. All right. So those things, I think they have learned that, and they're teaching their students that as well. So there's a two-way. I think this exchange is taking place, right? There's a sharing from the students to the teachers and back. What I would like to see more is actually hearing from the students, because we do hear a lot from the teachers. And sometimes the chat is just teachers, but it'd be great to have students come in and also give their opinions about what we do as teachers, That would be nice.
That's actually quite interesting, because a few of the sessions that I've been on, like teacher training, one of the trainers that I was watching, I was observing him. He said, okay, so because he's been giving these sessions, so he in this sense, there's teachers act as students, we can say, in the role of students, they were learners, and he was training them. And then at the end, which is something that I haven't seen frequently, he said, okay, so what can I do to support you more? And I thought that was a great question, because sometimes we see the classroom from one view, right? And as teachers, sometimes we get so we get into these professional development and we see it from one perspective.
Yes.
It's very hard for us to kind of see it from the student's perspective unless we're in that situation ourselves, or if we get direct feedback from the learners.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I try to ask them for that. Sometimes ask them to post out their comments. In the classroom, I try to encourage that a lot, to ask for them to be very honest. It could either be, yes, no questions, or asking them from, scales from 0 to 10. How would you rate this? How much? And sometimes they kind of get shocked when I ask them, how can I help you learn? And them looked at me like, what kind of question is that? No, I really, how can I help you learn? Meaning, what can I do to a teacher facilitate this process for you? What helps you learn? What kind of preferences you have? How do you connect with the content? How do you see things? So what do you see from your perspective? Because sometimes we spend a lot of time, especially in the class, on face-to-face. There's much more concern with classroom management instead of classroom engagement. And engagement sometimes involves getting students. It has to be a bit messy sometimes. You allow them to be themselves. And I tell them, okay, you can be yourself. Let's do it. Let's negotiate. Let's make sure you can do this. So some of them find it really strange because they're like, but so my colleague is doing this. Can I do this? And it's different. I say, yes. In the end, you're going to be doing the same thing, but you are reading and your colleague likes writing, or your colleague likes to listen. And I know you like reading more, so I'm giving you more text to read because I know you love reading. So I'm trying to get them to do those things like that. So yeah, if you can I think this is the key, getting students to come in and share their opinions. There were 2 occasions where we had actually a student moderating a chat. That was fantastic. The student came in.
How did that go?
Yeah, that was wonderful because they came up with the questions and the questions were surprising, of course. I didn't tell the participants that they were students. I said, this is our chat. At the end, I told them that they were students. If I told them, everybody, that the students had prepared the chat, maybe people might have felt a bit, I don't know, inhibited, but it worked. It worked really well. The questions were different. So they found the questions really different from that perspective about seating plans, from giving people the value of detention, the value of homework, the value of projects, why they believe that homework can help me learn. And teachers are like, so that I think it was nice to see that kind of interaction where the students came in and shared their views with that. So hopefully we can get to do more of that. What we do see now, of course, is not just teachers. We have parents participating, interested parents who are, very, very dedicated stakeholders. Actually, one of our moderators in my team, he's not an educator, he's a parent. So I love that because he brings in perspectives. And when we talk about what we're going to discuss, the questions, we normally hash out the questions before. So let's say the chat on Saturday. So today I would send the questions to the group. Hey, I want to talk about this. What do you guys think of these questions? And everybody would make some comments. No, question 1 looks all right. Question 2 is a bit shady. It's not clear. Can you rephrase it? No, look at the grammar, blah, 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 blah. Maybe you could make it simpler, break it down into 2 questions. And you're like, oh, wow. One of them is supervisor, admin. So you have, the parents' view, you have the school admin view, you have the teacher, you have the coordinator. So everybody comes in from a different point of view and, shares. So that's what I think is the benefit. And in the chat, we have people from all kinds of positions. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, isn't that what I had recently I was on YouTube and scrolling through all of the things that I follow, and one of the polls popped up and it said, educational goals should be determined at what level? the school level, the local level, the state level, the federal level. And it got me to thinking, because I immediately had a gut reaction that it should be local level. Because if it's school would be too, it would be, it would be too constricted, I think. But then the state level doesn't take into consideration some major, geographic, socioeconomic, cultural issues that might be important. And so it was kind of interesting. So naturally, organically, your Twitter group has formed almost at local level, right? Like because you have parent stakeholders, administrators, teachers. So it is kind of a representation. I mean, they're all in different places, but it is a representation of the local level.
Yeah, true. Well, yeah, you have that. I think you have, as you said, educators, teachers, teaching assistants, sometimes what they call the carers, right? Some of them are not teachers, but they're teaching assistants, or they help with, for example, what they call special education. So you have them coming in and teaching. You have pre-service teachers, you have in-service teachers of all types, right? So I think that gives us that mix, which is important, right? So it doesn't just look as the teacher. And also the fact that all of us teach different subjects. I teach English. You have chemistry teachers, science, biology teachers, arts, music, drama, and then they say, well, in science, this is what we do. And the one that teaches, well, in music, I get to do this. And then you think, well, and this is what I teach you. When you read the tweet, you're like, can I do that with them in an English class? Can I get them to do that in, English language teaching perspective? Would it work for teaching? So that's good.
You've got me kind of on board. I might be a Twitter convert at this point.
Yeah.
I'm about to buy. I'm about to download the app. I think it's I think it's really, really good, because then like you said before, you had mentioned previously in our chat that it's not an echo chamber. It has dynamics. It has multiple perspectives. It also has multiple disciplines, which we can then kind of compare and contrast, because teaching different disciplines, there obviously is going to be I would imagine there would be a difference in that. And so, but being reflective of the practices of different disciplines might be beneficial for ELT. Yeah.
Yeah. The moderator is the one who kind of not provokes, but instigates and asks another question that can maybe bring in more. And that's important.
Okay. And, so then we have to promote your baby. So what's the
my
hashtag?
Baby? Yeah.
So,
and of course, it's called.
I'll put it in the show notes so everybody can find it afterwards. But please go ahead and tell us how we can find it.
All right. Yeah, you can find it. But as I said, using the hashtag, it's all together. Hashtag N as in nada, right? NT as in Turner, and the number 2 and letter T again. I'm going to write in the chat. You can just get it afterwards. But it's called NT2T, which stands for New Teachers to Twitter. So if you put the hashtag,
this is a hashtag made for me.
Made for you, yeah.
It's exactly what I need.
Yeah, it focuses on, as I said, it could be new teachers in terms of pre-service, teachers who are now getting into the profession, new teachers, or teachers who have been already in the profession for years, but they have never used social media as an educational tool, right? They haven't used social media, they haven't used Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and they want to find their way around. Or, as we were saying, they want to connect with other professionals and build a network that can be useful for them.
Yeah, it's really important to have social, like a professional network. I've realized this over the past few years. It's essential for your sanity in teaching.
Exactly.
Exactly. It keeps us normal, more or less normal.
Yeah, it keeps us within that level of normalcy.
Range. We'll call it a range spectrum, maybe.
Somewhere around there, like bordering,
So then, so you use Twitter primarily. Do you use any other social media platforms that have a similar thing, or is kind of Twitter your baby because of the the hashtag that you
We got a
run
hashtag.
through?
I use more Twitter. For my personal use Instagram, but also interact with teachers there too. But I try to bring the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, a lot of Facebook groups that vote. Not as much, but Facebook, it's much more synchronous. You come in and comment and talk. The discussions there on Facebook are much more of, let's say, controversial stuff. Sometimes there are things that are beneficial, but this is my opinion, that are beneficial to the teachers. Maybe the topics, maybe they need to move ahead, not say keep beating down the same path. It sounds a bit repetitive sometimes, what I see in Facebook. So Twitter gives a fresh view of things, I believe. Yeah, because as I said, it comes from different subjects, different school teachers, different countries. So that does force you to see things from another pair of eyes, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think you actually converted me to Twitter. We'll see. I'm gonna join. You might have had a success today. But I'll join. I'll see what I can do. I mean, it's just I have to say, now that you've kind of broken it down a little bit, it's a little less intimidating because I just didn't really know where to go. You're kind of just, you join and it's like, and what do I do now? And now what? Exactly. What do I do? But if there's groups, especially, and I'll get the handle of this librarian, this librarian
man. Yeah, his name. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll link that too, so people have some orientation, right? So I feel like that is going to allow people to use it in a more beneficial way, especially for professional development. So
cool. All right. Yeah.
Very
good.
Cool.
And you can find me there. Let me put my handle there on Twitter.
Yeah.
So you can find me there. It's Steph Working. It's in the chat there. So you can put it in.
Working with a U, like work.
Yeah. Work, baby. Work it, baby. Work it. Work it, baby. Woo.
I feel like we have to have fun at least.
Well, go to do something, right? That's what we're here for. I love it. That's what it's,
Okay, so people can more often they can find you on Twitter than they can find you on Instagram, because that's where it's happening.
Both. I mean, this is happening, but I mean, you can find me on both. The interaction is different. It's Instagram, you have the stories and everything. But sometimes I share something I find on Twitter. I normally go there and leave on Instagram. So, like leave some tweets. Oh, this is why I saw this on Instagram, on Twitter, sorry. And I share with people, So I like that. So I, comments, and I share the ideas that are being put out there onto the whole, Instagram story feed, share with other teachers. So try to navigate through those platforms, right?
Nice. Love it. I'm on board. I'm starting, you're converting me. I'm starting to really enjoy this idea.
Welcome.
Welcome to the dark side.
Welcome, ye Twitterites. Join me.
And do you have any last minute tips? Because I don't want to take too much of your time, but last minute tips for people in terms of, because this was great for professional development, but do you find that in these conversations that people also share ideas? Because I know that when people go online, teachers are underpaid and overworked wholeheartedly. Yeah. So we know. So do they share also materials and things like, oh, these are great resources? There's a lot of resource sharing as well as discussion.
There is. I mean, incredible sometimes the links. It could be in terms of links, videos, or even sometimes resources really that are added on there, or tips in terms of what to do. So, what I normally do with my students is like that. I guess it's because of the question, because we sometimes ask questions that would kind of push you to go that way. So, like the other day I asked the question was, what are your go-to resources to help students with that kind of skill? And people just mentioned that. What do you normally do? What strategies do you use? And so I normally use those kind of questions that provoke people to say things. And most of them do actually share. They do share that. They tell it play as it is. So, I do this. This works in my group. Oh, we've been doing this. Whatever. We've been trying this for the last semester and stuff. And I said, oh, cool. So tell us a bit more. And as I said, the moderator, what you do is try to maybe encourage more discussion. So sometimes when somebody says something and I find it interesting, I say, hey, could you give us some more examples? Can you tell us how it went? Where can we find stuff that might be helpful? And they normally do respond. People do rise to they actually rise to the occasion.
That's awesome. I've tried to do that on Instagram recently, that I've been posting kind of prompts or, oh, I found this, or do you ever use this type of thing? And today I posted a quote, and it said, I forget what it said. Anyways, it was a quote, and I had 4 teachers. I don't even remember the quote that I posted, but it was kind of like this fun quote, very, neutral quote. And I had 4 teachers respond to it within 3 hours, and they all gave 1 or 2 lesson ideas and all sorts of other things. And then other teachers were like, that's so creative. I would have never thought of that. And I was like, see, this is the cool stuff. This is like, because you see something, and from my perspective, I would have gone one way, and another teacher came at it from a completely different perspective. And you can use the same material for multitude of different lessons, or like analyzing language or using it or skill building. And so it was just interesting to see.
Exactly.
Love
it. No, this is it. And that's the juice. That's the good part of it, right?
Yes. I love these types of things. I'm good. Okay. So NT2T, new teachers to Twitter. That's the hashtag to follow. We got to get on Steph working. I'm gonna always say Stephen. I'm sorry. It's like in my brain. Steph working, and then we have the awesome resource of this librarian that put everything together to make it easier for us. And then follow. Try to join into this new teachers to Twitter group, because that sounds like it's going to be very beneficial for lots of people.
Sure. Yeah. Send me a message. We talk. We can, see what works. But I can walk you through, guide you guys through it. No problem at all.
Awesome. Maybe a tutorial. We'll have to get a tutorial.
Good idea.
That would be a really good idea. Maybe on Instagram, you can have the tutorial.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Well, my battery's running out. Sorry to tell you.
Okay. No problem. I have to go anyways too. But I want to thank you so much, Stephan, for hanging out with me and telling me all about Twitter. It's been wonderful. Yay! And you're more than welcome to come back at any point in time so we can have a chat about any other things you're digging into. Okay?
Great. Wonderful. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been so much fun. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see everybody later.
You too.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Ready to join the conversation? Head on over to Instagram at Kelly Pennington ELT and send me a message. That's it for now. Take care of yourself, your health, your vibe, and your tribe. Until next time.